Good morning. Welcome to this celebration of Bill's life. It's really difficult to think of today as a celebration. This is certainly a day of sadness, a day that you have to say goodbye to a friend and loved one. But it's also a day that we want to look back on his life and celebrate all that he's accomplished during his lifetime. And there is much to celebrate. This is a day of mixed emotions for sure. I know there will be tears, but I hope as memories are shared, there'll be smiles and laughter as well. Because I think if you look back on Bill's life from what I've been told, there has to be smiles and laughter as well. So I always tell people on a day like this, just let your emotions do whatever they want to, because they're going to anyway. I'd like to begin with this poem. As we look back over time, we find ourselves wondering, did we remember to thank you enough for all you have done for us? For all the times you were by our sides to help and support us? To celebrate our successes, to understand our problems, and accept our defeats? Or for teaching us by your example the value of hard work, good judgment, courage, and integrity? We wonder if we ever thanked you for the sacrifices you made to let us have the very best, and for the simple things like laughter, smiles, and times we shared. If we have forgotten to show our gratitude enough for all the things you did, we're thanking you now, and we are hoping you knew all along how much you meant to us. We're going to light 5 candles. Now, the first candle we light today is the candle that symbolizes Bill's life. When you watch candles burn, they all flicker and dance in their own unique way. No 2 candles are exactly the same. Just like you and I are all unique, we're all different. If we were all the same, it would be a mighty boring world. So as we light this candle today, I want you to think about all of the things that made Bill unique, made him different than everybody else. And I'm going to invite Pam Thompson to come up and light this first candle for us, please. Thanks, Pam. The second candle we light is the family candle. And this is the candle that reminds you and I how important our families are. I know that Bill's family was very important to him. His children, his wife, everybody, his brothers, sisters. It's a reminder to you and I that our family is a priceless treasure, something that we need to hold near and dear to our hearts. I know that Bill held his family very close to his heart. And so as we light this candle, I want you to think of your family and how important they are in your life. And I'm going to invite Laura Ritchie-Seaman and Adam Ritchie to come forward to light this candle together. Thank you. The third candle we light is the candle of friendship. And this is the candle that symbolizes all of the friendships that Bill enjoyed during his lifetime. Looking at the guest book, I can tell that he had many, many friends. And just looking out here today, you can tell that he had many, many friends. This is the candle that symbolizes all of those friendships. You know, friends are so important to us because they're the ones that we lean on during difficult times. They're the ones that lend us their shoulders to lean on and their ears to bend. So, on behalf of the family, I welcome all of the friends who have come here to help the family celebrate his life. And I invite Heather Plagans to come forward and light this for us. Thank you. The fourth candle we light is the memory candle. This is the candle that symbolizes all of the memories that you have of the times that you spent with Bill. It's been said that life's significance lies in the satisfactions and experiences that we achieve during our lifetime. But life's permanence lies in the memories of those who knew us. By sharing your memories, by keeping all of those memories alive, you help to keep Bill's spirit alive. And during this Christmas season, it's very important that you include Bill in your celebrations, that you remember him, that you celebrate those memories, that you talk about those memories. He's been a part of your life for so very, very long. And so make sure that you include him in your Christmas celebrations. Even though that will bring tears, I'm sure it will also bring some smiles. And I'm going to invite Pam Atchison and Shannon McComb to come forward and light this candle for us, please. And then we light the last candle. And this is the candle of grief. It is necessary to recognize and acknowledge the grief that you experience when a loved one dies. You know, for the family, there are no words to describe how you feel. And there are no words that anyone can give you to take those feelings away. We all try. We all try to come up with the right words. But in reality, I don't believe there are any right words. Remember this, that grief is a sign of love. If there was no love, there would be no grief. So as you grieve this loss, I want you to hold on to tight, really tight, the love that Bill shared with all of you during his lifetime. So as you shed tears, remember the tears of love. And I'm going to invite Patty to come forward to light this final candle for us. So as we watch these 5 candles burn, let them remind us that friends and family have gathered today to remember, to celebrate the life of, but to grieve the loss of their friend and loved one, Bill Koeslag. I rehearsed this a lot, you know.
Koeslag.
Thank you, Koeslag. At this time, we're going to play a song that I know everybody will know. Everybody who knew Bill knew that he loved the Beatles. It's one of his favorite groups. And so we're going to listen to a song called Let It Be. But as we listen to this song, I want you to sit back, reflect on the memories that you have. Think about all of the memories that you want to share with each other over the coming days, weeks, and months. So let's listen now to Let It Be.
And
this time we're going to listen to some memories, and I'm going to invite Bill's sister Joanne to come up and share some memories with you.
I've been told to take this right off, so. That old saying, "Only the good die young," is so true about our dear brother Bill. A kinder and more softer spoken man you will likely never find. And after reading the tributes on Bill's obituary notice and seeing the number of people that came through last night, we can see that many felt the same as us. In today's world, Bill would have been considered an oops. He was a brother who arrived in our family when the rest of us were half grown. I was 14 and a half, Deanie was 13, and Bert was 11 and a half, but he was no oops to us. Bert remembers that when Bill was a new baby, our parents set up a bassinet in the corner of the living room in the Kemble house. We had a big German Shepherd dog named Teddy. Billy was crying and making a fuss. Teddy stood on his hind legs and looked in the bassinet to see what the noise was. After that, you had to step over that dog to see Billy. They were inseparable. When Billy could barely walk, he was allowed outside on the lawn this was in Kemble, and Teddy stayed between Billy and the road. Jen wouldn't allow him to wander too close to the edge of the lawn. My daughter Anita just mentioned something today that she remembers that Bill used to play with the cats all the time. We always had cats in the house, and that Bill would scratch his hand underneath the runner and get the cats going. So that was kind of cute. Billy was such a joy in our lives, and our parents doted on him. Because he was so much younger than the rest of us, he never experienced the sibling fighting that the three of us had. Lucky him. I remember that Billy was a fixture in the Kemble General Store, which our parents ran back in the 60s. And I remembered photos, and there was one on the screen here, of Bert cutting the grass and Billy following behind with his toy push lawnmower, and those little bow legs, which he never really grew out of. While in Kemble, Billy learned to skate on bob skates at the old arena on natural ice. I can remember him flying down the ice and crashing into the boards at the other end. I can remember watching Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday nights. Bill's love of hockey started then, I'm sure. And I'm not exactly sure, but I think his love of the Montreal Canadiens started back then too. In 1970, we moved to 435 Gould Street, Wyerton, large house overlooking the town. And I told this story at Deanie's funeral back in June. Bill said that one year Deanie gave him a hockey net for Christmas, and best Christmas present ever, he said. And he was the most popular kid on the street. He played competitive hockey and baseball, and our parents never missed his games. Our dad was the manager of Bill's hockey team, and that picture was up there too. In 1973, Bert and Doris and Mike and I were married, and Deanie and Murray were married the following year. Bill was in all our weddings. He was a junior groomsman, and almost overnight we were all gone. Within a couple of years, we all started families, having kids, and as it turned out, Bill was closer in age to some of our kids than he was to us. At family At family gatherings, when we got together to celebrate birthdays and special occasions, our kids loved to hang out with their very young uncle. I have a photo of Bill and our son Clint. I should have brought it really, and boy did they look alike back then. In the mid-'80s, a young girl by the name of Patty Wright started coming to our family gatherings. She was an instant hit with all of us. Bill and Patty dated for a few years, and after Patty graduated from university, they finally got married. And they returned the favor and had all of our kids, all 9 of them, in their wedding on June 17th, 1989. And did those kids think they were special? Bill and Patty made them feel that way. Mark was a groomsman. Anita was a bridesmaid. Joel and Ben were ring bearers. Carla was a flower girl. Clint and Adam lit the candles, and Tina and Laura handed out the programs. I got it right, didn't I, Patty?
Absolutely.
There was so much joy at that wedding. You just knew that theirs was a match made in heaven. I told Patty recently that I always considered them a team from day one, and she agreed that they were. Within a few years, Paige and Eric were born. What great parents they were to them. Just wonderful parents. By this time, Bill was working at the beer store. He started there in the summer while he was still in high school, and he just kept on working there. Who knew that he would make a lifelong 37-year career with the beer store? All of us are very, very proud of our Dutch heritage. In fact, my Dutch relatives in the Netherlands are watching this live stream today. The food we like to eat: spiced or plain Gouda, croquettes, oliebollen. Oliebollen is a New Year's tradition. It's like a donut of some sort. Chocolate initials. That's, you get a chocolate initial at Christmas time every year. And soup. Bill loved his Dutch soups. Bill told me that Patty always cooked stomppot on the anniversary of our mother's birthday. Stomppot is a mixture of mashed potatoes and kale, together served with a smoked sausage. And Patty served that on the anniversary of our mother's birthday. We talked about that this summer, and Bill said, "You have to sprinkle vinegar on it to bring out the flavor." I said, "Yes, Bill, I know." That's our mom's influence. Thanks, Patty, for learning how to make food that our mom used to prepare. We all make tracks out to the Dutch store at Mennonite Corners to stock up on all Dutch things. Bill used to tell me that he pre-ordered his oliebollen at New Year's every year, and they would make them for him there. I believe Bill traveled back to the Netherlands. I was talking to Patty about this last night. We were trying to remember how many times, but he did go once with Patty and 2 or 3 times with our parents as well. Over the last few months, Bert and I had many visits at the house with Bill, Patty, Paige, and Eric. Lots of reminiscing about old times. A closeness redeveloped between us. The weekend before last, Bert and Wendy and I had another visit at the house. Bill was pretty quiet, but he sat and listened to the conversation around him. Eric had been at a buddy's house and got home in the morning while I was there. Eric told me that he had supply taught at Terra Public School, or whatever you call that school, and I think he said a grade 4 class. The kids couldn't pronounce Koeslag, so Eric told the kids to call him Mr. K, which I thought was pretty cool. I was watching Bill and he was smiling and looking at his son. Pure love and joy on his face. I'm so glad that he knew of Eric's plans to be a teacher, and also how successful Paige is in her career. A huge void has been left in our lives. I'm not sure how we move forward, but we will, by keeping our families together. One consolation for us is that Bill is back together with our parents and with Deanie and Murray. Rest in peace, dear Bill. Your suffering is over. Love from all of us. Sorry, I made you cry.
Thanks so much, Joanne. That was really terrific. And I'd like to call forward now a very dear friend of Bill, who's going to share memories with you. Bill Walker, come forward, please.
You shared, Joanne, something I wasn't really thinking of, that Billy was an oopsie, and I'm a Bill and I'm an oopsie, so maybe there's some relevance to this. An ode to Billy Kay. Today we gather to reflect, remember, and cherish our friend Billy Kay. While you may be gone from this earth, please know we will think of you every day. Born in 1964, the son of Albert and Joanna, the little boy from Dutch, brother of Deanie, Joanne, and Bert, or as some refer to him, Butch. He had a heart of gold, a genuine smile, an infectious giggle and grin. And whether a customer at the beer store, family or friend, everyone's heart he did win. To Patty, Paige, and Eric, he was a devoted, loving, caring husband and dad. To Beal and Herb, Penny and Larry, Brad and Karina, he is the best outlaw anyone ever had. A Beatles and Has friend from an early age, and right to the end, he was the epitome of a fun-loving, giving, and awesome friend. Whether on the blue line or the ball diamond, he was a talented athlete. A smooth skater with soft hands and a smooth swing, he loved to compete. Hum buddy, hum shooter, hum buddy kid, hum Billy K. You were a class act, a competitor, a teammate extraordinaire all the way. A big part of his life involved music, especially the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. His sense of humor, his devotion to family and friends, his life was like an uplifting and beautiful song. A nice, kind, genuine, gentle, sweet, and caring soul, you, Billy Koeslag, were one of the best. To the volumes of tributes and loving thoughts and memories shared, this we can attest. You are a special person who touched many people along the way. Your song is not over, Billy K., for in our hearts, your sweet song forever will play. Thank you to Billy, who requested me to be part of his celebration of life, and to Patty, Paige, and Eric for allowing me the privilege of paying tribute and to celebrate the life of such a special person in our hearts. And I know Billy had a fair bit to do with his own service, and I'm not certain if that's why he suggested to you this should be less than an hour, but I did get the message from a few people. But how do you condense Billy Koeslag's life into less than an hour? Today, we honor our friend Billy K., the boy from Dutch, one of the best. Well, Knucklehead, we've done a lot of things together. And while I'm humbled to be standing here, I sincerely wish it would not have been for a long, long time. In any case, you've given me the microphone, so settle in, everyone. And in keeping with the spirit of Billy, I hope you'll enjoy the reflections I have tried to share with some fact and humor, and many of which were stories that Billy and I reminisced about and had some laughs over many times over the years. Here is to you, my friend. William Paul Koeslag was born on February 10th, 1964 in Owen Sound Hospital to loving parents, Joanna and Albert. For the rest of the story, he will be referred to as our beloved Billy K. He followed Joanne, who just shared a lovely thought with all of us and reflections of her life with him today. Deanie, who sadly passed away June 19, 2021, and Bert, or to some of you, Butch. They lived in Campbell at this time, where Albert and Joanna operated the general store. No beer at this time. And moved to Wyatt at age 5 to 435 Gould Street. Beside Chester, there's a story about that, about a stag and doe and a lion's head and North Stars hockey pants, but that'll be for another time and another story. The Richardsons, and around the corner, the McCaw clan. This would be the start of lifetime friendships with Don Richardson, Pam, Susie, John, and the entire McCaw clan. Pam shared, and I quote, "We were all so tight growing up, walking to school as a group, playing kick the can in Red Rover, scrub ball, road hockey," and she still does not know why she was always the goalie, and walking home from the arena so cold late at night and up the Pinto Hill wearing shoes like cool kids. Ah, Gould Street memories. Billy K. was truly one of a kind. At times like this, we often hear a poem called The Dash. In Billy's case, the dash is reflected in a very strong and often repeated way with tributes that truly personify Billy K. to a T. A small sampling. Nice, kind, genuine, gentle, sweet, cute. That might have been Patty in her pages. A big grin, a hard goal, the best of the best. And if you knew him at all, you had to love his smile, his giggle, and his chuckle. And I think as we all sit here, you can hear that little chuckle and giggle at every time. And I hope with a couple of mine, you're going to have one as well. They were kid-like and shy, and yet at the same time mischievous and had a little devil to them. A few quotations over the last few days as follows. The nicest person you could ever meet. If you're ever looking for a mold for a role model, Billy K. would be it. Don Richardson. The most beautiful, genuine smile, the best of the best, Pam McCaw Thompson. He was a good one, Pam Atchison. One of the nicest guys you could ever meet, Doug Psycho Sutherland. And I can hear Billy chuckling at the Psycho reference. A great friend, an awesome athlete, and a true sportsman, Tom Miller. Truly a gentleman of all the guys I played ball with, Dana Saunders. He was a kind and wonderful man and a great friend, my best bud, Paul Boulder. Billy attended Wyerton Public School and then Wyerton District High School. He took his real estate license kind of in the footsteps of his dad, Alvin, who was a decorated veteran and a successful real estate agent in his own right. At around the same time, 1984 I think, he started working at the Brewers Retail for Joe Hatt. Many will remember the way that Joe used to snap the bills when people would pay by cash, which was much more prevalent back then. A few, probably in this crowd, and who shall remain nameless, would put a small tear in the bill. And of course, when Joe snapped, it would rip in half. And if you knew Joe, there was a bit of smoke coming from his ears. I think Billy had a few quiet grins behind the little cash register. Paul Boulder worked there, and I believe helped Billy get the job, as Paul's dad, Mo, and Joe were good buddies and had played sports together. And then Billy helped me get a part-time job, and we had lots of laughs at that good old beer store. This part-time job was to play a key role in Billy's life, as he would be a dedicated employee of the beer store for 37 years. He was ironically thinking about retirement. Billy was a loyal employee who was dedicated to his craft. If you came to his store more than once, he normally, after the first visit, knew what brand you liked, the quantity, and before long, who your favorite team was. And he was very happy to share his love of the Habs and Expos, depending on the season. He never moved into the manager role, and that was at his choice and his discretion. However, he functioned like he was, and was the best assistant manager possible. He had watched and learned from Joe, minus the bill snap, and was proud of the stores and staff under his watch. Sometime in high school, this beautiful young athlete from Hepworth caught the eye of Billy, and in 1984, after Patty's first year in university, he started to make the move to ensure she didn't escape to the big city, as he knew she was very bright and talented. And she was a keeper, he said. After a 5-year courtship and deciding he could handle the wild right clan from the valley, ever the gentleman Billy proposed, and he and Patty were married on June 17, 1989. I was fortunate to stand in their wedding along with Don Richardson, Paul Boulder, brother Brad, nephew Mark, and as we heard, all of the nephews and nieces. Back at that time, we had started a bit of a tradition on our busman ball team known as the bow tie slide. And if you happen to notice the photos, you might have saw a picture on there. Patty actually shared this chuckle with me a couple of nights ago when she was reviewing the photos. Well, it sometimes happens at such festive occasions. We had had a few pops, and as was customary, we lined up at the end of the hall at midnight, raced to the other end, and dove, as if heading into home plate for the winning run of the World Series, or in our little part of the world, the AA. Well, Mr. Boulder was not on the team, and he thought we were nuts. But after sufficient libation, Gibson's finest, I am sure, he agreed to join in the fun. Well, all I can remember is we all took off like a shot, as we had joked. If Boulder lands on one of us, it will be like a cartoon where all you see is him and our arms and legs sticking out. Oh my God, we laughed at that for years, and in fact, we still do. After a few years of getting to know each other and living in Owen Sound, the newest member of the Wright Koeslag team, Paige, Mini-Me Patty, joined on December 26, 1995. And not long after, Eric, Mini-Me Bill, joined on July 12, 1999. As the old saying goes, the $1 Million family was complete. And by the way, have you ever known two kids to be such carbon copy lookalikes as their parents? I will leave the personality and traits for private conversations. Somewhere during that time, and I cannot recall the year, they moved from Owen Sound to Kemble. Kind of full circle, if you recall, Billy had started life there. And Patty reminded me of the move and saying, and I quote, "I know it is a big house in the country, but seriously, I think you're taking belongings from the neighbor's basement because there's so much stuff. And they'd only been married a few years, like pack rats." Not only was Billy the best brother, husband, dad, and friend in the world, he was also the best outlaw. The best outlaw you could find. Beulah took this shy, polite young man just like she had to her. and Halibert and Herb couldn't believe what a catch Patty had snared. A nice, quiet, almost non-drinking kid from a stellar family from Wyerton. Well, I mentioned the almost non-drinking as Billy started to dab on the odd pop fairly late into his teens. Well, much later than most of his buddies, and especially those Gould and McNaughton Street friends I mentioned earlier. With lots of sports and wanting to fit in after the ball, hockey, and curling games, did I mention Billy was a top-notch curler too? And be a likable teammate. Pretty tough effort for you, Billy boy. He started to enjoy the pops a little more, and after some time seemed to enjoy the taste of whiskey. Gibson's finest whiskey, in fact. Now, I'm not certain whether it was spending so much time with Boulder and the numerous backroad tours, or there might have been the odd impairment had they hit a ride check. Trying to win over the favor of father-in-law Halibert and Herb and be the #1 son-in-law, or the many junkets out at the home of teacher and guidance counselor Kenny Burrow, that he shifted from Billy the shy, quiet kid from Dutch to the wide-eyed, grinning Whiskey Bill. But as was the case with this blonde kid with a heart of gold, he became even more likable and adorable. He was, without a shadow of a doubt, with or without whiskey, the favorite brother-in-law of Penny and Larry, Brad and Karina, and of course, the favorite uncle of all his nephews and nieces. Billy loved music, especially the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who, and Led Zeppelin, and he attended many a concert and had many a good time, some even able to be recalled with those friends and his fellow music lovers. Susie Richardson shared, and I quote, "I knew Billy was a big Beatles fan. However, I was not aware of his depth of being a fan and his grief until he wore a black armband at school when John Lennon died. A Beatle to the end." He was also a fan of some of our local bands, such as Midnight Blue, which features Dave Nixon, the McNay brothers, and Rob and Steve Ritchie, who just happen to be Habs fans. And Behind Bars, featuring his buddy Dave Burt, to name just a few. Billy loved his sports. He excelled in hockey, one of the smoothest skaters and playmakers you will find. In softball, one of the smoothest swings, and he wouldn't let Eric have his bat, and softest hands in the game. And also curling. He loved his Montreal Canadiens, the Habs, and was truly one of their proudest fans. He also loved baseball and his Montreal Expos, and also his fastball. He, from the time he was an ankle biter until he was 54 years young, the last year in 2018 with Harold Sutherland in the Scenic City League, and a huge bonus was he got to play with Eric. Billy was very proud of this, and extremely proud dad of both of his children. He exuded pride every time he talked about them. It was also great to see a collection of his sports apparel on display last night, albeit I did note the absence of the Disco Satin Miller Farms baseball coat. Billy always chuckled that it was the ugliest coat in history. He hated that coat. Who would buy that? And probably burned it. Now, while Billy was saint-like, and I remind you of all the sweet, wonderful tributes, nice, gentle, kind, sweet, Billy was also a bit of a mischievous fellow, which was sometimes hid by his giggle and his grin. He was competitive, and while he would never be the person to say it or to suggest it, if one of his pitchers threw one high and tight, Billy would fully be supportive and even maybe grin behind the glove. If someone was being arrogant or a jerk on the ice, Billy might line up the guy for a bone-crushing check, and Billy was solid on his skates beyond his weight. He knew how to throw a check, if you know what I mean. Or he might grin if someone like Hightower Tom might have had a bit of a chat with someone with his knuckles. Or perhaps a no-net catcher by the name of Dud might throw something more than a softball at someone that might have looked like brother Jeff Millman. He also loved a good chuckle. Just a few weeks back, Jerry Roos shared that every time he saw Billy, Billy would raise the story of him doing the body job in Larry Miller's Lincoln and the mix-up with the wiring. True story. A bunch of us were in the back of the car heading to a ball game in Meaford the first day Dad got the car back. It started to sprinkle with rain, and when Larry turned on the wipers, the horn honked. Turned on the volume on the radio, and the wipers would go on. And you can see Larry with a little bit of frustration. We were killing ourselves. Billy and I were in the back. Larry said, "Ruthie, you little son of a..." or something to that effect. "What the hell did you do to my car?" As he thought he had purposely programmed it that way. Oh my God, too funny, and Billy always chuckled and smiled at that thought. Billy was very proud of his Dutch heritage, his dad's service in the war, and his family. And with all reverence to those listening in the Netherlands and in Holland, it just wouldn't be right if we did not include the phrase, wooden head, wooden shoes, and wouldn't listen, as he had heard it 1,000,000 times before. But he would just giggle and grin and say, "Yeah, you're a bunch of morons," and go with it as he did with most things. He was especially proud of his grandpa, Opu Witchers, who came to Canada many times on her own and never spoke a word of English. Billy was always intrigued, and he got a chuckle and always admired her greatly for doing that. And of course, Mom Joanna traveled back many times to Holland at a very advanced age, and always did with great pride. And she also made those great croquettes you were talking about, Joanne, which I had never even heard of until the rehearsal party. I actually think I ate most of the pot or the plate, whatever it was, and I might have washed it down with a rum with Albert. He had just recently had some family from Holland visit, and you could see the sparkle in his eye as he shared parts of their visit. Bert was also there that day, and of course there were stories of the language which Bert can speak and understand. I jokingly offered that the only time I think Billy spoke Dutch was when he had a belly full of whiskey, and I'm not certain even the most proficient Dutch interpreter could have repeated what he was saying. A good chuckle was had by all. You could see Billy just giggling to himself. Over the past number of years, Patty and Billy traveled a fair bit, and even went on cruises with their good friends, Will and Heather Plagans. As most of you know, Billy could not swim a stroke. He was like a rock. So it was always kind of a chuckle to me that he actually went sailing the oceans of the world. Perhaps beer and whiskey helped after all. Billy Koeslag was a salt of the earth, kind, gentle, and caring soul who anyone would be proud to call their friend. I was truly humbled to be one, as are all of you. I always admired him and cannot honestly recall anyone, even sports opponents after a heated game, ever uttering a single bad thought or word about him. And if you read his tributes, it just rings true. He was a strong, silent person, and even during his last battle, he remained the same. A brave, determined person who did not want anyone worrying about or fussing about him. He always turned the conversation to others and asked how everyone else was doing. Billy Kay was a class act, a gem, a gentleman, a quiet knight, the best of the best. It is my hope that as your legacy to our friend Billy Kay, you will always take time to enjoy the sound of music, your favorite song, your favorite sport, and most importantly, the joy and fun of family and friends. As we leave here, may you always try to put a smile on the hearts of others the way Billy did for each of us. Do a good deed for others and pay it forward in his honor. And know that the sweet life song of our friend, Billy Kay, will always play on. Until we meet again, rest in peace, our favorite boy from Dutch. We love you. Your buddy Doughhead.
Thanks, Bill. You know, it's really heartwarming to know that a person like Bill had so many close, dear friends and long-lasting friendships. In this day and age, you don't see a lot of long-lasting friendships like that. And so, you know, it's a great testament to Bill to have so many friends and to remember so many memories. It's wonderful. And when I was talking with Patty, I was trying to think what kind of a story am I going to tell today. So I think I did pick the right one based on what I've heard from everybody else. And it's called The Mayonnaise Jar and 2 Cups of Coffee. Sounds like a little weird, but it goes like this. When things in your life seem almost too much to handle, when 24 hours in a day are not enough, just remember the mayonnaise jar and 2 cups of coffee. A professor stood before his philosophy class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, he wordlessly picked up a very large and empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full, and they agreed that it was. Then he picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly, and the pebbles rolled into the open areas between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if the jar was full, and they agreed, yeah, it was. Then he next picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar, and of course the sand filled up everything else. He asked once more if the jar was full, and the students responded with a unanimous yes. The professor then produced 2 cups of coffee from under the table and poured the entire contents into the jar, effectively filling the empty space between the sand. And the students all laughed. Now, said the professor as the laughter subsided, I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things. Your family, your children, your health, your friends, and your favorite passions. And if everything else was lost, and only they remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, and your car. And the sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, he continued, there is no room for the pebbles or the golf balls. And the same goes for life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you'll never have room for the things that are important to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Spend time with your children. Spend time with your parents. Visit with grandparents. Take time to get medical checkups. Take your spouse out to dinner. Play another 18. There will always be time to clean the house and fix the disposal. Take care of the golf balls first, the things that really matter. Set your priorities. The rest is just sand. One of the students raised her hand and inquired what the coffee represented. The professor smiled and said, well, I'm glad you asked. The coffee just shows you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple cups of coffee with a friend. And that story really talks to me about Bill's life, that he filled his life with the golf balls first. He knew what was important in life, his family, his friends, the things that he enjoyed most. And everything else sort of filled up the jar later. And so many people don't learn that lesson. So many people fill up their life with the sand first. You know, the big question, of course, is what are we left with? Well, certainly you're left with many, many memories. And those memories are absolutely critical. For the faithful, people will say, well, it's our spirit that's going to continue to live on, that there's life beyond this life. For a person of science, they're going to say, well, it's the energy within us that's going to continue to survive, because energy can never be destroyed. And in reality, spirit and energy really are the same thing. There is a part of us that does continue to exist. It's not something you can see. It's not something I can physically touch, but it's certainly something I can feel. You know, think about this. Where does a memory come from? A memory comes from the sharing of ourselves with each other, the sharing of our spirit, the sharing of our energy. That's where a memory comes from. Those are parts of Bill that are going to continue to exist forever. So yes, indeed, there is a part of us that continues to exist beyond this life. You know, I think I mentioned it at Deanie's service that, you know, when you wake up in the morning, first thing you do is look in the mirror. And when you get over the shock of what you might see, ask yourself the question, who am I? Am I who I see in the mirror? Is that the real me? Or is the real me the energy or spirit that lives within? What makes me unique? What made Bill unique? It's not how he looked. It's how he responded to the world round about. What really made him who he was the manner in which he shared his energy or his spirit with his friends, with his community, with his family. That's what really made him who he was. So, you know, maybe just by chance we are more than just a physical being. Just maybe we are a spiritual being in search of a physical experience rather than a physical being in search of a spiritual experience. It's something for you to think about. There's no answer that I can give you. But I do know this, that when you close your eyes and you open your hearts and minds and you think of Bill and you feel the love that he shared with you, know that it's real. It continues to exist. Let me read this to you about love. But with one exception, all things pass from this world, and time erases not just memories, but entire civilizations, reducing every one and every monument to dust. The only thing that survives is love, for it is an energy as enduring as light, which travels outward from its source toward the ever-expanding boundaries of the universe, the very energy of which all things were conceived, and with which all things will be sustained in a world beyond this world of time and dust and forgetting. That love will be with you forever. Christmas is tomorrow. It's supposed to be a time of celebration. There will be sadness tomorrow because Christmas, as you know, is not going to be the same. And one has to admit that Christmas is not going to be the same this year or forever. It's going to change. This is a year where you have to be gentle with yourself. If you don't want to do a whole lot of decorating, you don't. If you don't want to do a whole lot of cooking, you don't. If you don't want to accept all of the invitations that you're given, then don't. Be gentle with yourself. But at the same time, make sure that you include Bill in your celebrations. Talk about him. Shed tears, but share your laughter. Give yourself permission to laugh. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you love him any less. People say, how do we get over our grief? Grief is very difficult to get over. And everybody will go through grief in their own way. And I know I told this story at Beanie's service, but I tell it at every story because I think it helps deal with grief. An elderly man was asked one day about grief. Would you give up on grief if you could? Because we know it hurts every time you've lost a friend. And this elderly man said, I would never ever give up on grief because grief is a reminder to me of the love that I shared with each and every one of those people. He said, look, think of grief in this manner. You're out in the middle of the ocean and you're in a shipwreck. And you're floating on a piece of debris all by yourself. And every second of every minute, this enormous wave comes crashing over top of you. And before you can catch a breath, the next wave hits. They keep coming, one after the other. You think you're going to drown. But with the passage of some time, the waves begin to move a little bit further apart. They still hurt when they hit, but now you can catch a breath in between. And with the passage of more time, not only do the waves move a bit further apart, they begin to diminish in size. So they don't hurt quite as much. And with the passage of lots of time, those waves will gradually become ripples, brushing up against you, reminding you of the love that's been shared. And people say, so when will the ripples stop? And I always say, I hope never. I hope those ripples will be with you for the rest of your days. When I say it takes a long time, how much time? Everybody's different. But it's not a week, and it's not a month, and very often it's not a year. Because for the next year, each special day, you're going to have to celebrate without Bill. And so you're going to remember Bill. Accept that, and know that it's okay, because you loved him. It's always the love that brings out those feelings. And for the friends, all of you have a role to play. I always give friends the 3 rules of friendship, because you know, friendships are so important. It's called the 3 H's of friendship. The first H of friendship is you hang around. True friends are there in the good times and in the difficult times. So often friends will disappear, saying, well, I didn't go to see the family because I think they need their rest, or no, I didn't go to see them because I probably say the wrong thing and they'll cry. Or what if I go over there and I don't know what to say at all? I'm going to feel so foolish. Friends are there in the good times and in the difficult times. Second H, give them a hug. We're not supposed to hug right now, but we're getting there. Because a hug says more than all the words in the dictionary. All you have to do is give a great big hug, and you can feel that exchange of energy between the two. And the third H is the tough one for friends. The third H is hush. Be quiet. Shut up. You're not there to talk. You're there to be a good listener. You're there to lend them your shoulder to lean on and your ears to bend. So friends, stick around. Give them a hug when it's safe to do so. And be a good listener. I'd like to share with you a poem. It goes like this. Or actually, I better invite Susie Richardson to come forward with her reading, just in case I picked the same one. Susie, please come forward and share your reading.
I heard you in the wind today. You whispered my name. And though I couldn't see you, I could feel you. You still remain the same brother, same husband, father, uncle, friend. I close my eyes and I see you so clearly, so I know this can't be the end. Goodbye is not what happens today. We don't move on without you. We will wake tomorrow, greet the day, and live our lives impromptu. For this is a new journey with no map, no signs, no guide, but we'll trust that you are leading us and will reteach us how to fly. Your goodness and your kindness, as dependable as the rising sun, your smile and gentle spirit you gave so freely to anyone and everyone. These are the things you've given us to help us on our way. They are embedded in our minds and hearts and will never, ever fade away. We all have questions for the Star Maker about why you had to leave. We wrestle and we question life, this beautiful, painful mystery. We may never find the answers, but that's okay, I believe. We will carry you with us always and simply let it be.
Thanks, Susie. I'd like to invite Patty to come forward. Patty has some thoughts that she would like to share with everyone.
Need my cheaters. I can talk, at least. Anyway, we can start with that. Thank you all for coming. My dearest Bill, you were such a loving husband and a super dad to our kids, Paige and Eric. I used to say our kids were so lucky to have two moms. We loved you and cared for them so much. He could do a diaper like the best. He learned that from his parents, about how to care and love for people. Albert and Joanna were wonderful parents. And he had to help care for some of his parents after his older siblings. Joanne, also known as Honey. Bill always called Joanne Honey. Denny didn't get a nickname. And Bert, who also was known as Butch. They had moved out and Bill helped care for his parents for quite a long time. You taught us about acceptance of people. And you were always such a fair guy who took everyone as they were. You gave so much of yourself to others at work, helping your co-workers with those unruly customers who didn't want to wear masks, helping customers carry out their beer to the car, on the ball field, sharing multiple positions so that everybody got a chance to play, and on the ice rink, coaching ringette and hockey, teaching our kids to skate, because I'm a terrible skater, and driving kids to the practices or games, be it in Desborough or anywhere across southwestern Ontario. He came to know every Tim Hortons over these years too. At home, making sure we saw every Montreal Canadiens hockey game, any Expo baseball game we could find on TV or the radio, and any Dutch soccer game. Yes, we watch a lot of sports. Eric is going to be taking over the barbecuing. Paige will be making sure I get to places on time. Well, maybe just a little wee late. They'll always like to be prompt. Patty, not so much. You made friends easily, and we traveled with many places, and we had a lot of fun. We visited with many friends and family last night, which was really enjoyable for us, and I'm sure he was here in spirit too. You were such a strong man with a quiet manner. Sometimes just a certain look was all that was needed to communicate your thoughts. We miss you already so much, and that's only going to grow. We'll toast you again later with some Gibson's whiskey, with the Beatles playing, and celebrate you.
Thanks, Patty. And let me end this part of the service with this poem. Don't think of him as gone away. His journey's just begun. Life holds so many facets. This earth is only one. Just think of him as resting from the sorrows and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days and years. Think how he must be wishing that we could know today how nothing but our sadness can really pass away. And think of him as living in the hearts of those he touched. For nothing loved is ever lost, and he was loved so much. At this time, I would ask everyone to rise for the committal. And let me begin with these words. I took up a handful of grain and let it slip flowing through my fingers. And I said to myself, this is what it's all about. There is no longer any room for pretense. At harvest time, the essence is revealed. The straw and the chaff have done their job. The grain alone matters, sacks of pure gold. And so it is when a person dies, the essence of that person is revealed. At the time of death, a person's character stands out happy for the person who has forged it well over the years. Then it will not matter their great achievements, nor how much money or possession a person has amassed. These, like the straw and the chaff, will be left behind. What will matter is what they have made of themselves. Death can take away from us what we have, but it cannot rob us of who we are. Friends, we've been celebrating this life that is now ended. The time has now come for us to say goodbye to our friend and loved one, Bill Koeslag. All of his hopes and ideals we now commit into your minds and your wills. All that he loved we commit into your hearts. His spirit we commit back from whence it came. And his ashes we commit back to nature. And Bill, may you rest in peace. We are reminded that there's also the immortal part that shall survive the grave and will never die. If I could have the three of you come forward, please. And now upon his ashes we place these flowers fair, in token of our memories and hopes beyond compare. One for the friendships he cherished, unfaltering and true. Another for his special love, known well by all of you. And this, the most special one of all, we place upon his heart, in token of his life of hope, and ours the deathless part. And now may the wings of the eagle carry this spirit so bold on to the next adventure with his new journey to unfold. May the circle be unbroken with the stories oft retold in celebration of a person whose heart we all hold. Friends, we've been remembering this life that is now ended. And the time has now come for each of you to return to living your own lives, embracing all of those memories and allowing those memories to help you grow forward as well. And now may the light of love shine forth on you, on those for whom you care, and on those who care for you. May you be ever blessed with peace and understanding as you travel through your life. And may you come to the end of your journey in gentleness and in joy. Amen. Please be seated.
Thank you, David. Ladies and gentlemen, this does conclude the service here in our chapel. On behalf of Patty and the family, I'd like to thank you all for joining them here today. To those joining us online, you're truly here in spirit with us. Thank you for joining us here today as well. And as well to invite you over to the Legion just following us leaving the chapel here today for a time of fellowship and reception. And I'll just ask that the pallbearers please step forward at this time, and I'll ask the rest of the congregation to please follow us out of the chapel.
Don't have much money, but back if you're able to please rise.
you.